Okay, so what we're going to be talking about is the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Studies. And the Institute, the ILSS, I'll refer to it as. It was formed on the 1st of September. Dr. Jacobs made the decision to create in this institute. And again, it is a result of the strategic planning process that the University of North Georgia went through about 2 years ago. This was born from that process, and the reason it was born from that process is to make sure that the Corps of Cadets and the military program here at the University of North Georgia remains a vibrant and highly valued component of the University of North Georgia now and into the foreseeable future. So this is what the ILSS is all about. I think everybody probably knows this, but we still consider that the University of North Georgia was started in 1873. Even though we consolidated with Gainesville State College, we still say we go back, our roots go back to 1873 when we were established a military college. For those of you who do not know, we are one of 6 senior military colleges. So the Citadel, VMI, Texas A&M, Virginia Tech, Norwich, and us. Of those 6 senior military colleges, we're the only one that is Army only. The rest of them have Navy, Air Force, and then the Marine component of the Navy programs. Look, we've got over 17,000 students at the University of North Georgia now, right? But they're spread across on 5 different campuses. And on this campus, on the Antonia campus, we got about 7,200 students. Out of those 7,200 students, a tenth of the students, about 720, 730 or so, are cadets in the Corps. And then we have a bunch of other kudos there that you can see, but I'm going to skip the rest of that. All right. So the university now has a bunch of colleges. We got a College of Arts and Letters, the Mike Cottrell College of Business. We've got a College of Education, a College of Health Sciences. We've got a College of Science and Mathematics. We have a university college that's headquartered over on the Gainesville campus that's focused on student success. We have the Lewis F. Rogers Institute for Environmental and Spatial Analysis, and now we have the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Studies. So what is our mission? The mission of the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Studies is to provide the leadership for all of the military or the cadet-related elements here at the University of North Georgia, and also to develop programs and opportunities for cadets to develop competencies that will enable them to become agile, adaptive, innovative leaders of character, able to operate across multiple domains and to succeed in a complex world. So that's what we're trying to do, provide for our Corps of Cadets. I do have, for those of you who did not get one of these this morning, after the presentation is over, this is a flyer that explains the competencies that our cadets are developing as they move through the Corps of Cadets over the 4 years that they're here. This is very interesting reading for those of you who have not seen this. Our intent is that our cadets build very highly competitive resumes for jobs after they graduate from college. Now, whether they go into the Army as lieutenants or they go into the civilian world, into the United States federal government, state government, local governments, or into global corporations and stuff, we want them to be highly competitive after they get out of here and get a job after they get out of here. And our graduates contribute significantly to U.S. national security. And I use as proof our currently serving Army generals. They're in the Army right now, but there are also a lot of very high-level business people who graduated from the University of North Georgia and our Corps of Cadets. But just a few examples. The Deputy Commanding General of European Command is Lieutenant General Garrett, who is a graduate of North Georgia, 81 graduate of North Georgia. The Commanding General of the 18th Airborne Corps right now is Lieutenant General Steve Townsend. And General Townsend, I believe, graduated from here in 1982, and he now commands America's Rapid Reaction Force. He's got the 82nd Airborne Division under his command, 101st. He's got the 10th Mountain Division, the 3rd Infantry Division. All that belongs to a North Georgia graduate, right? Major General Steve Fogarty is the commanding general of the Cyber Center for Excellence at Fort Gordon, Georgia. He's the commanding general of Fort Gordon, Georgia. He and I served together in the Ranger Regiment as he was the intelligence officer while I was the operations officer working for Colonel Stanley McChrystal. Major General Bill Gaylor has been tapped to assume command of the Army Aviation Center of Excellence at Fort Rucker, Alabama. So we're going to have 2 UNG graduates who are commanding Army Centers of Excellence. The State Adjutant General here is a graduate, Brigadier General Joe Gerard, his twin brother, serves in the Pentagon. I believe he's in the Afghanistan, Pakistan fusion cell. We have other general officers that are serving in other positions as well. General Calvert just is en route or just now taking over as the Assistant Division Commander of the 1st Cavalry Division. You know, when SEAL Team 6 did their raid into Pakistan to kill Osama bin Laden, the helicopters were commanded by a North Georgia graduate. At the same time, Delta Force, operating in other areas of the world over there, was being commanded by a North Georgia graduate. And we could go on and on. When I was a company commander in 1st Ranger Battalion, at that time the Ranger Regimental Commander, Colonel Grange, was a graduate of North Georgia. So we have a long and distinguished history of people who make an impact on national security matters. Okay, so what are the functions that we perform? What does the ILSS do? I've already kind of alluded to it, is that we coordinate and direct the activities of the Commandant of Cadets, the Professor of Military Science, the Cadet Recruitment Center, the Director of Cadet Admissions, and the Corps Development Officer. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We also we collaborate with academic affairs to develop the academic programs where there is a need, where the programs don't exist, in order to be able to allow our cadets to develop the competencies that I'll show you in a later slide here. One example of this is we've worked with the College of Arts and Letters to develop a Security and Strategic Studies bachelor's degree. That is going forward to the University System of Georgia. I think it went forward this month, and it should be approved so that it's implemented by the fall of 2016. Why did we do that? We felt that there was a need for a professional type degree. You know, if you're going to be a nurse, you're going to go to the College of Health Sciences and you're going to get a nursing degree. So what do you do if you want to become an Army officer? We developed this degree for those who don't know what they want to major in, but they know they want to be Army officers, right? So Security and Strategic Studies bachelor's degree is coming on board, and that's just one example of the collaboration that we are doing with academic affairs. Another thing that we are on tap to do is to conduct research that's related to leadership development, and strategic studies. And as a matter of fact, we're going to start an international journal of strategic and security studies here soon. And the university press is going to publish that journal for us. And one of the things that we're going to be looking for are undergraduate research projects or research projects that are done by undergraduate students, either our own cadets here or students, or we're also looking for projects from other cadets, undergraduate cadets from really all across the world. So a Polish cadet who has a Polish perspective on European security and Russian security, let's just say, does a research project. We publish that in our journal. Our cadets now have an understanding or can know where to go to get an understanding of current world security issues from other people that are like them from across the world. We are also tapped to develop these external funding support, and that's the primary job of the Corps Development Officer. And the Corps Cadet, or the Corps Advisory Council helps us raise money for operational things that we need in the Corps of Cadets to help our cadets achieve those, those competencies that I talked about. The Institute for Leadership and Strategic Studies is where all of the military expertise is for the Army ROTC program for the Corps of Cadets. And so if we're going to recruit cadets, if we're going to recruit high school students to come become cadets at the university, then the cadet admissions function and the cadet recruitment function should belong under the ILSS. We understand what we're looking for. We understand what a cadet goes through. We understand military lifestyle. And then finally, it's to, it's to provide educational resources for our cadets to develop these competencies, internships, but we're also now creating a more formalized second track for our cadets. Our primary focus has been on commissioning, commission. We are developing a second path called the Global Leadership Pathway, where if you cannot commission or you don't want to commission for some reason, you can do the Global Leadership Pathway, take advantage of all the leadership development and education that you get as a cadet in the Corps of Cadets for 4 years, and then go off in the civilian world and do whatever it is that you plan to do in the civilian world, armed with these competencies and leadership development that you wouldn't have otherwise received as another student. Okay, so this is how we're organized. At the top of the chart here is the Senior Vice President for Leadership and Global Engagement. Okay, that's Dr. Billy Wells, Colonel Billy Wells, who used to be the Professor of Military Science here. Most of you know him. As the Senior Vice President for Leadership and Global Engagement, he sits on the President's cabinet, and he has the ear of the President. And so this is something different than what had existed prior to the existence of the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Studies, right? And so he has a lot of influence. And the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Studies, ILSS, has a lot of influence with the cabinet, with the other vice presidents, with the president in the decision-making process for budgeting and everything else, academics and everything. So the Professor of Military Science now, operationally, reports to Dr. Wells, Colonel Wells. That is Colonel Brent Cummings. He's an infantry officer. But before, Colonel Cummings reported to the Dean of the College of Arts and Letters for operations. So we had that stovepipe there, right? And then we have the Commandant of Cadets. Most of you know Colonel Tom Palmer, who also falls under the operational control of the Senior Vice President. Before, Colonel Palmer fell subordinate to the Vice President for Student Affairs. So we had another stovepipe there. Director of Cadet Admissions falls under me. I'm the Associate Vice President for Military Programs. I'm kind of like the S3XO for the ILSS. And I report directly to Billy Wells. Our offices are adjacent to each other. But the Director of Cadet Admissions reports to me, and we direct. So and then the Corps Development Officer works hand in hand with the Commandant of Cadets to develop the funding and things that we need for our programs. So that's how we're organized. It is a lot better as far as synergy and synchronization of all the things that we do and the visibility in the cabinet with everything that the Corps of Cadets does. Are there any questions about the task organization? Also, I just show down here on the bottom of the chart some of the partners and the associates that we work routinely with. So, for example, the Georgia Army National Guard. We're a partner with the Georgia Army National Guard. I don't know if you know, but we have over 230 cadets who are also soldiers in the Georgia Army National Guard. And there's a huge advantage for this. Not only do they get additional training by going to Army basic training and advanced individual training, but they also get additional leadership development program when they enter the simultaneous membership program. But also, did you know, if you are a soldier in the Georgia Army National Guard and you decide that you want to commission as a regular Army officer, you can. And if you commission as a regular Army officer, on that day that you get your bachelor's degree from the President of the University, you receive probably a leadership minor from the president of the university, you will get an honorable discharge as an enlisted soldier in the Guard. And you pick up a regular Army commission. And if you pick up a regular Army commission, your starting salary will be $10,000 a year higher than if you were a regular ROTC or an ROTC scholarship recipient. Because the Army says, all right, 1 year in the National Guard equals 1 year in service for active duty pay purposes. So my son was a soldier in the Georgia Army National Guard while he was a cadet here and commissioned into the regular Army. And now, by the way, a brand new second lieutenant in the Army, this is according to Army Times pay chart in January, okay, makes $60,000 a year. It's in the regular Army. If you're a soldier in the Guard and you commissioned, you're an 01 over 4 years time in service, not an 01E, because you're going to go to the regular Army and be enlisted in the regular Army to get 01E. You're an 01 over 4 years time in service. You're going to make $70,000 a year to start. In addition to that, being a soldier in the Guard brings you a lot of pay and benefits that you can use to help pay your college bills. So I just bring that up, and we just partnered with Army University, and we're working on some initiatives there. Corps Advisory Council and the North Georgia Corps Cadets Association, I mean, they're huge to us. Of course, we're tied in with U.S. Army Cadet Command. I just got back from a conference up in Washington, D.C., where Army Cadet Command was. So we do, the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Studies, the ILSS, does a lot of coordination and relationship management with an awful lot of different military-related organizations. So has the mission of the Corps Cadets changed? No, it has not. Right, so Colonel Palmer still is developing highly educated leaders of character. And their Army ROTC or cadet graduates will be fully prepared for success as lieutenants or in business world. No change. The professor of military science, no change. His mission is to select, educate, train, and commission college students to become officers in the total Army. What's the total Army? Regular Army, Guard, Reserve. By the way, we do commission probably more lieutenants for the Georgia Army National Guard than any other college or university within the state of Georgia. And I think that we're the largest commissioning source for the Georgia Army National Guard, and we produce some really outstanding officers for the Georgia Army National Guard. Our cadet admissions mission did not change, is not changing. We focus on scholar, athlete, leaders. And our primary focus is on those who want to commission, but we're also actively recruiting those who may not want to commission, but do want the leadership experience that the Corps offers in that global leadership pathway. By the way, if anybody has any questions while we're going through this, just butt in. Phil's mission, he sent me another picture that he wants me to use, but I'm fine with this one, Phil. So he's got to bring the money in for us to be able to do all of the things that we want to do with the Corps of Cadets. Supporting programs. I went through this awfully quickly this morning, but this is just kind of a list of all of the things that we believe that are unique, that uniquely prepare our cadets for the jobs and the things that they are going to do after they graduate from college. And one of them is modern and classical languages. And we've greatly expanded the variety of modern and classical languages that we have here at the University of North Georgia. Most of you, when you were here before, probably it was Spanish and French. Or maybe there wasn't any foreign language. Okay. All right, just making sure. Okay. English was, yeah, okay. But now we've added, 7 or 8 more languages. And the strategic languages that were very popular with our Corps of Cadets are Arabic, Chinese, Korean, and Russian. We also have Japanese and Italian and German. So you can actually major now in Chinese, in Arabic, as well as French and Spanish, and you can minor in Korean and Russian, as well as French and Spanish. And we have a lot of cadets that are interested in that. As a matter of fact, we have 26 cadets who are majoring in Chinese, and we have 8 cadets who are majoring in Arabic right now in the Corps of Cadets. So 34 cadets out of our 730 or so cadets in the Corps majoring in those two languages. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the Federal Service Language Academy. Our Summer Language Institute are for like new cadets who we accept for admission to the university. And what they can do is they can start in the summer before Fall Frog Week starts in August. So it's a summer semester. It'll go the 20th of June or so through the end of July. And what they do is they come here. They live in the military residence halls. And they learn a strategic language. One of those four that I mentioned before: Arabic, Chinese, Korean, or Russian. And it's the 1001 level and 1002 level of that language. And all they do is take the language. And so they get good grades because all they do is focus on learning Chinese all day long in a classroom. And then they do study groups and things like that. It makes a really good learning community. They get 8 academic credit hours toward their bachelor's degree. And they knock out their foreign language requirement before they even start Frog Week. And it also is a good way to discover whether or not you want to continue to learn the language. And if you do, do that and get as proficient as you possibly can in the language. So that's available for our incoming new cadets, or for those who have completed their freshman year, who then want to go to the Summer Language Institute in the summer between their freshman and sophomore years. Chinese language flagship, and I know that some of this is repetitive from this morning, but we are one of 2 ROTC, Department of Defense, Chinese language flagships. What this means is that you can major in anything. So for example, you can major in political science or something. And while you're majoring in political science, you take Chinese for the 4 years that you're majoring in political science. One of those semesters during your 4 years, or maybe a summer semester, you will go to China and you will learn Chinese at a Chinese university. But the flagship program is a 5-year program. The 5th year, you're going to go to China. And you're going to go to a Chinese university. I believe it's Peking University right now. And your first semester there at that Chinese university, you're going to take upper-level bachelor's degree courses in Chinese. And then the second semester, you're going to go do an internship that's related to your bachelor's degree. I don't know if they have politics in China or not. But so if it was political science, I guess you'd go join the party and see what the party does. They're in China. Okay, the Cultural Understanding and Language Program, or CULP, is run by U.S. Army Cadet Command. Cadet Command understands the importance of developing competencies of all Army ROTC cadets across the country. There's 275 Army ROTC programs, and they want to expose cadets to other peoples and other cultures. This summer, they're sending 1,000 cadets, contracted Army ROTC cadets, to 70-plus different countries for 3-week programs, service learning projects, or teaching indigenous people how to speak English. There's all kinds of different things that they do. But that's fully funded by the Army. And our cadets are taking advantage of that, and I think we've got 18 or 15 to 18 signed up to do the CULP program this summer from the University of North Georgia. We've had a military leadership minor for a very long time. It's extremely easy for a cadet in the Corps cadets to earn a military leadership minor. I highly encourage them when I talk to young men and women who are looking at the possibility of coming here. You need to sign up for a leadership minor. Look good on your resume when you graduate from college. We started an international affairs bachelor's degree about 5 or 6 years ago. And I'll show you the concentrations later. And we also started an international affairs master's degree, which is fully online now. So after you graduate and commission or go into the civilian world or whatever it is that you're going to do, you can start work and you can take your master's degree online. I already talked about security and strategic studies. We have we're developing military internships also. So for example, we have students and cadets who have done internships at European Command. We're expanding our study abroad programs for our cadets. I'll show you in a minute. Cybersecurity, we have a cybersecurity minor. I don't know if you know, if you were an officer in the Army, in the summer of 2014, 2 summers ago, right? 1 summer ago, the United States Army started a new branch called the Cyber Branch. And that's the first new branch they've started in 30 years. And I think the last one might have been Aviation or Special Forces, I can't remember. But new Cyber Branch, because the Army needs to bring, is creating these cyber defense or cyber operations teams. And what we're trying to do is create people who can maneuver around in cyberspace just as well as lieutenants can maneuver around on the ground as infantry officers or armor officers, right? And I'll talk about the National Cyber Warrior Academy here in a minute as well. Nothing much has changed if you're familiar with the Corps of Cadets, and I think everybody here in the room is. We still got a brigade, right? A brigade with 2 battalions, and then there's a few companies in each one of the battalions. So there's no difference, I don't think, in the task organization of the Corps. Some of the characteristics of the Boar's Head Brigade is Colonel Palmer and Colonel Cummings will tell every single cadet and every single influencer and parent that the #1 priority here is academic achievement. And as a matter of fact, this past fall semester, I believe, we had the highest average grade point average in the history of the Corps of Cadets. So if you were here this morning, you saw that the athletes achieved a 3.12 GPA. The Corps of Cadets achieved a 3.16 GPA, beating the athletes. Yeah, I'm not going to cover the rest of that stuff there. Okay, so these are the competencies that the cadets are developing while they're cadets in the Corps of Cadets. And for a more detailed explanation of what each one of these competencies means to us, you can see this piece of paper here if you want to pass that around. If you don't already have one, that would be good. But what we did was we took a look at a whole bunch of different places, the Department of Labor. We looked at online, at some private surveys and things that were done by the Association of American Colleges and Schools. But the thing that we fell upon that we thought was most appropriate and probably applicable to all jobs after you graduate from college was the Army's 21st century soldier competencies. And so we adopted it for the Corps of Cadets. And these are the competencies that we believe are going to create a high level and a high degree of success for anyone who's a cadet in the Corps of Cadets. And this is really what we're developing. And for those of you who can't see, it's character and accountability. Comprehensive fitness, this doesn't just mean physical fitness. Adaptability and initiative, a yearning for lifelong learning. Reading. I keep telling my son to read, but he doesn't. Teamwork and collaboration. Communication and engagement. Oral communication, written communication, negotiation skills. Critical thinking and problem solving. Cultural, joint, interagency, intergovernmental, global competency. And then the last one is really for those who are going to commission. Tactical competency and technical competency. So those are the things that we're developing. Those are the things that we think that cadets are going to come out of this program with. Frog Week, I'm not sure why I got this slide in here. It's the same as it has been for years. You must go through Frog Week still, whether you transfer from another university or you coming in from high school. You must attend and graduate from Frog Week. Cadet Basic Training. FROG stands for Freshman Orientation Group. Typical day in the Corps Cadets looks like this. At 6 o'clock, the juniors are doing leadership development, physical fitness training. And so they do more physical fitness training than the sophomores and the freshmen. Why? Is to prepare them for the cadet leader program that they're going to go through this following summer, which used to be advanced camp or summer camp, if you want to call it that. So for the rest of the Corps they're getting up at 6:45. They're doing PT at 7 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, they'll do inspections or some sort of cadet professional development training, and then they're free for the rest of the day. They're on quarters from 2000 to 2330, which means they have to be in their room studying. They can get a pass to go to the library or to athletic events and things like that, and then lights out at 2400. So that's the day in the life of a cadet. It's pretty busy when you compare it to the life of a day in the life of a civilian student. I'm sure that most of you are aware of a lot of our signature achievements here over the past several years, but we've had the #1 cadet in the United States twice in the last 6 or 7 years. What does that mean? During your senior year of college, the Army ROTC Cadet Command establishes an order of merit list. And this year there were about 5,300 cadets from across the country who are contracted, and they're about to commission as Army lieutenants in the Guard, the Reserve, the regular Army, right? And so out of those 5,300 or so, last year we had the #1 cadet in the United States. This year we had the #8 cadet in the United States. 5 or 6 years ago we had the #1 cadet in the United States. Within the past 6 or 7 years we've had the #4 cadet, the #7 cadet. And so our cadets are doing really, really well when you compare our cadets' performance to the performance of the other 275 colleges in the country that have Army ROTC. Okay, commissioning. For those of you who are interested in commissioning statistics, we all know that the Army's shrinking, right? The Army's shrinking, but our commissioning mission is growing. Last year, we commissioned 75 officers for the United States Army in 2014 and 15. This year, the professor of military science is projecting that we will commission 90 officers for the regular Army, the Reserve, and the Guard. Our mission is going up. West Point, I was at this meeting, conference earlier in the week at Washington, D.C., and they said that West Point's not meeting their mission. I think they've been having too many pillow fights. Anyway, so some cadets are getting kicked out. But anyway, the senior military colleges are being asked to commission more Army officers to make up for the shortage. Also, Officer Candidate School, up until a couple of years ago, was producing about 20% of the Army's officers. Okay, now they're producing 9%. So what the Army's doing is they're using OCS to flux instead of ROTC or West Point, and they're trying to keep West Point and ROTC missions even. So for the next several years, there's no plan to reduce our commissioning mission. In fact, it's going to go up, which is great news for our high school students who want to become officers in the United States Army. And it's great for our cadets who want to become officers in the United States Army. Our retention rate is hugely up. I mean, 5 or 6 years ago, we were at 55, 60% retained from freshman year to sophomore year. Now we're over 80% first-year retention rate. The quality of the cadets that are coming in is higher, and the quality of the instruction and what is happening with the Corps of Cadets is better. Our military science instructors are absolutely outstanding. I'm going to get into a little bit about the internationalization and our efforts to internationalize, to provide international educational opportunities for our cadets to develop those global competencies that we want in our cadets. So the first thing I'll talk about is Europe. So those of you who are familiar, I kind of got a picture of what is mostly European command, right, in the United States military. European engagement. So what do we do here to prepare our students for engagement in Europe? Or how are we engaged in Europe? First of all, the world languages we teach are French, German, Italian, Russian, and Spanish that pertain to the European AOR. Second is we got a bachelor's degree in international affairs with a European concentration. Third is we've got a whole bunch of study abroad programs in about 10 different countries in Europe. We also have a Federal Service Language Academy, which I'm going to get into more detail, where if you're a high school student and you apply for admission to the university as a dual enrolled student, and you have 2 years of high school German or French, we'll send you to Germany or France this coming summer for 3 weeks, and you'll get 4 academic credits for a study abroad program learning German or French during that time. We have international internships with a bunch of different organizations over in Europe. And then we also have military exchange programs. We got a military exchange program with the Polish Military Academy. I don't know how to pronounce it. We also have been given a $10,000 fund to fund a Polish cadet to come here and spend a semester at the University of North Georgia in our Corps of Cadets. Most of the Polish students speak English, by the way. So that's what we're doing in Europe. We're also engaged in Asia, although the rest of the AORs that I'm going to show you, we're not as heavily engaged in as we are in Europe. But as far as Asia goes, we're looking at China, Taiwan, and South Korea. So the world languages that we teach here that have to do with the Pacific Command, if you will, PACOM, are Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. We have a bachelor's degree in international affairs with an Asian concentration. We have study abroad programs in China, Korea, and India. And then we also have international internships in Hawaii. And then we've got military exchange program with Taiwan Military Academy, or the Republic of the Rakma Military Academy. And as a matter of fact, we just had a Taiwanese cadet in our Corps of Cadets during the fall semester. He wore his Taiwanese uniform, and he fully participated in the Corps of Cadets. What that does is allow our cadets to get exposed to another culture, another language, and so what we want to get to is our goal is to have 18 international cadets in our Corps of Cadets, with at least one from each one of the theater AORs. We're sending a couple of cadets to Japan next week, I believe, to participate in the Japanese National Defense Academy International Week. So they're going to, our cadets are going to interface with not only Japanese cadets, but cadets from a lot of other different Asian countries over there. Middle East, we're not very engaged in the Middle East for obvious reasons. The world languages that we do teach that have to do with the CENTCOM AOR, if you will, are Arabic and Russian. We do have an international affairs bachelor's degree with a Middle Eastern concentration. And by the way, here's an interesting story. We got a communication from the Office of Secretary of Defense here at the Pentagon. The Saudis wanted to send 300 high school students to our service academies. And they would stay at the service academies for all 4 years, graduate, and then commission into the Saudi Army, Navy, and Air Force. The service academies said, we can't do that. So now the OSD, Officers of Secretary of Defense, went to Cadet Command, and asked them, hey, can we put 300 cadets into the senior military colleges? Well, if you do the math, we had 6 senior military colleges. Each one of us would have to absorb 50 Saudi students. So we said, no, what we have volunteered to do is to be a pilot, grab 8 Saudi students, and put 1 in each company. And it would be great, because Saudi, if we could marry up a Saudi cadet with a U.S. cadet who's majoring in Arabic and or international affairs within a Middle Eastern concentration, you've got reciprocal help there. And the learning opportunities would be amazing. Now, we're going to have some problems with the culture and everything, but guess what? You got to deal with those problems anyway after you graduate, and you got to go deal in this part of the world. So we want the problems too. Absolutely. I don't think so, but
No, they don't. No.
we have women in our Army.
And so does Israel. That's about it.
Now for Southcom, we don't have a lot of engagement down in Southcom either. As a matter of fact, we do have an international affairs bachelor's degree with a Latin concentration, but we only have 2 cadets that are majoring in that. Most of the interest is in Asia and Europe and CENTCOM. World languages, we teach Spanish, and this coming fall, according to Brian Mann, the Department of Modern Language head, said that we should be teaching Portuguese in the fall as well. Of course, Portuguese is big in Brazil. We do have study abroad programs, the University of North Georgia does, in a lot of different countries in South and Central America. But we don't have a lot of cadets that are doing that. And in Africa, we don't have much engagement in Africa either. The world languages that we really teach that have to do with Africa are Arabic, probably French. I should have put French on there too. There is no bachelor's degree in international affairs with an African concentration. The only study abroad program we have is in Morocco. We can't go almost anywhere else. We are looking at a partnership with South Africa. As a matter of fact, Dr. Wells should be flying this afternoon to South Africa to go to the, yeah, I feel sorry for him.
Y'all gonna start teaching Afrikaans here?
I think that, it should be. I think that's a combination of Swahili and Dutch or something like that. But anyway, I forget the name of their college that has their military academy that's embedded in their college, kind of like the University of North Georgia got a Corps of Cadets embedded in. So he's going there to establish some sort of or beginning a relationship with them so that we've got a footprint or a foothold on the African continent. Australia, we want to expose our people to other languages and cultures, so we're going to send them to Australia. This was the CULT program I was talking about. So this is Army Cadet Command footprint. This is where Cadet Command is sending cadets this summer to all these different countries here. Okay, let me talk, and I only have a couple more slides here in case you're wondering what time we're going to get out of here, probably in about less than 10 minutes. I do want to talk a little bit more detail about the Federal Service Language Academy. The Federal Service Language Academy we started about 5 years ago, and it's for high school students. And it's for rising high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors. It's for high school students who might be interested in exploring a federal service career or exploring a critical strategic language. We've run this for 5 years in a row. About 15% of all the students that go through the Federal Service Language Academy end up enrolling and becoming students at the University of North Georgia, which is a good percentage. It's held here on the Dahlonega campus, and it's a residential program. They live in the military village for 3 weeks. And again, all they do all day long is take the language. And the languages that we offer this time, threw my back out, Arabic, Chinese, Korean, Russian, German, Portuguese, Japanese, and Cherokee. Why Cherokee? Because of the culture, the Native American culture up here. There are some Cherokee populations and Native heritage Cherokee people that live in the northeast Georgia mountains. And then there's a dual, and so that's the Dahlonega campus component. You don't have to know any Chinese before you come here if you're going to take FSLA Chinese. So the other piece of this is the dual enrollment program. Oh, and by the way, there's the dates, 5th through the 24th of June and the 10th through the 29th of July. We run 2 iterations during the summer. So we have a dual enrollment component of this where you apply for admission to university as a high school student. You become a dual enrolled student under the Move On When Ready program. And then you, as long as you have the 2 years of French, you can go to France and study in France for those 3 weeks. And we completely vet the people that you live with and all that stuff. Or if you got 2 years of German, you can go to Berlin and study in Berlin for 3 weeks. This slide just says that our teachers are native foreign language speakers in the Federal Service Language Academy. They really do get a lot out of this. And one of the last slides we have is cyber defense. It has to do with cyber stuff. So what are we working on? We know that cyber is very, very hot in the United States. Everybody knows that. Did you know that there are, according to the Department of Labor, this year there will be 500,000 jobs in the United States that will remain open that have a need for some sort of cyber educational credential. There are 8,000 empty jobs here in the state of Georgia that need a cyber educational credential. The university system of Georgia produced 46 graduates that had some sort of a cyber educational credential last year. So what we're doing is we're expanding our cyber educational opportunities for our cadets. And when we do that, the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Studies is doing that. When we do that, it's not only cadets that get the benefit from it, but all students at the University of North Georgia get the benefit from it. So we created and we started the Center for Cyber Operations Education. The reason why we're calling it operations is because we're not just focused on security. We're also focused on defense. I shouldn't say attack, but we want our cadets to be able to, again, maneuver around in cyberspace with ease and figure out where the bad guys are, what they're doing, collect intelligence, destroy networks, defend networks, etc. That's what we want to do. We're seeking to become a national security agency and Department of Homeland Security Center for Academic Excellence for Cyber Defense. We put in our application in January. We got preliminary go-ahead. They looked at our application and said, okay, this application looks great. We're going to come do a site visit now. After the site visit, they're going to do further evaluation during a site visit. We should know by the 1st of June whether or not we're an NSA, DHS, CAECD. Remember the acronym. And if we are, it just gives us additional credibility to apply for grants and scholarships to facilitate additional and expansion of our existing programs. What we want to do is create a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity or cyber operations and eventually go to a master's degree. We also just started well, I already said that. We joined the Army Cyber Institute, or ACI, Cyber Leader Development Program. ACI is headquartered, or they're housed at West Point. However, they report to the Army Cyber Center at Fort Gordon. And what they're doing is they've developed a professional development program that cadets can do that is primarily co-curricular activities. And as long as you're majoring in computer science or some cyber-related major, you do these extracurricular requirements. And when you get done, if you're a contracted ROTC cadet and you commission as a lieutenant, then you'll get an additional skill identifier. I don't know what it is for cyber or something, okay? That is true. That is so true. We are in the process of developing a military press to help facilitate publishing research, like I mentioned before, but also manuscripts and things that have to do with security and leadership development. We've partnered with the Army University for the same purpose, and that concludes my presentation.